Hey guys, it's Cece, and today I am here to do a tag. Today I'm here to do the mid-year book Freakout tag, which is a video I do every single year around this time because I think it is a great tag to sort of check in midway through the year, see how my reading's been going, predict some stuff going forward. The original video, as well as the versions that I have done of this tag in years previous, will all be linked down in the description below if you want to check them out, as will the full list of questions. But with that, let's just jump in because we have some super fun questions to ask. Or rather, I have some very fun questions to answer. I don't know. Let's just get started. I always think it's mean how quickly this tag jumps right into it, but you know, it's only fair. Question number 1 is, what is the best book you've read so far in 2019? There are a ton of super excellent 5-star books that I have read so far this year, but I have to say my favorite 5-star read of the bunch has got to be The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet by Becky Chambers. Something about this book checked every single box for me. It's like a perfect CC read. You've got weird sci-fi, found family, female-female romances. I laughed through this book, I cried through this book, I fell in love with every single character, and I could not stop reading it, which is a pretty out there statement for me, considering this is adult sci-fi, and I would say that it's fairly dense. The fact that I couldn't put it down is such a testament to its quality, to its writing, to its characters. If you love in-depth character study stories, this is one of the best ones I've ever read, and I can't wait to read the other 2 books in the series because this was just brilliant. Question number 2 is, what is the best sequel that you've read so far in 2019? Now, unlike that first question, this one was pretty easy because I think I've read a grand total of 3 sequels so far in 2019. I don't think it's going to surprise anyone at all when I say that my favorite sequel is In an Absent Dream by Seanan McGuire. I'm pretty sure that one of the books in the Wayward Children series was my answer for this question last year. It's going to take a full reread of the series to determine where this one falls, like ranking-wise, but just reading this made me feel like this might be my favorite one of the bunch. I'm not sure. That's pretty bold. That's pretty bold. Something about the weird, wondrous, and super dark Goblin Market inspired world of this book just made it so engaging to me. I also think it's the fact that I love Lindy as a character, and I loved this story for her, and exploration of this world of high logic is just... It is no secret that I absolutely adore the Wayward Children books. I'm constantly recommending them, I'm constantly talking about them, so I don't feel like it's a surprise at all to say that yet another book in this series is my favorite sequel so far, and might remain my favorite sequel for the rest of 2019. Question 3 is, what is a new release that you haven't read yet, but that you want to? I think I'm going to answer 2 different ones for this question. Both of these were actually released in April, so they're new, but not like brand new. But the 2 books I wanted to mention were When We Left Cuba by Cleeton and The Luminous Dead by Starling. These are both adult fiction, which is weird that these are my 2 answers, I just realized this. This is like sci-fi horror, and then this one is historical fiction. It is the companion novel to Next Year in Havana, and I've been really interested in reading about the new character that this centers on. It's historical fiction, but it's also romance. I loved When We Left Cuba, so I pre-ordered this, and I also pre-ordered The Luminous Dead, which is about queer girls going on a cave expedition, and it's supposed to be super fucked up and weird, and that's everything that I want, personally. Question number 4 is, what is your most anticipated release for the second half of 2019? So without question, the answer to this is Call Down the Hawk by Maggie Stiefvater. This is the first book in the new companion series to the Raven Cycle. This is the Dreamer trilogy. It's going to be following Ronan Lynch and the Lynch brothers, as well as Adam Parrish. I actually have a dedicated video all about my theories and thoughts on Call Down the Hawk. If you want to go check it out, I'm going to link it on the screen. So like, without question, it's Call Down the Hawk. There are a few others that I'm still super highly anticipating, such as Ninth House by Leigh Bardugo, which everyone wants to read. Everyone also wants to read The Starless Sea by Erin Morgenstern, and I'm on that list of people who is desperate to read this. I'm also really looking forward to reading Of Ice and Shadows by Audrey Coulthurst. This is being released in August and is the sequel to A Fire and Stars, one of my very favorite female-female romances ever, so This one doesn't feel as true because, like, I have a copy, I could read it whenever I want, but it is also one of my most anticipated releases of 2019. Question number 5 is, what was your biggest disappointment? This one was fairly easy. It's The Devouring Grey by Christine Lynn Herman. This was one of my most anticipated releases of this entire year. It was being compared to The Raven Cycle and Stranger Things, and then it turned out to just be sort of a bad CW ripoff of both of those things instead. So, despite the fact that I thought I was gonna give this book like a 5-star, I gave it a 2-star and won't be continuing in the series, and that is just about as disappointing as it gets. Question 6 is, what was your biggest surprise? I think for this question I have to go with Ivy Aberdeen's Letter to the World by Ashley Herring Blake, because in April I went on sort of a journey of trying to read more middle grade. In the past few years I've just stopped reading middle grade and I thought I didn't really like it, so when I picked up this book I thought maybe I would enjoy it. I enjoy a queer middle grade now and then, but this wound up being one of the most perfect books I've ever read. I sobbed reading it. It helped put pieces of my own personal sexuality journey together. I thought this was going to be a 3-star read. It wound up being a 5-star read and one of my new favorite books of all time. It just came completely out of nowhere, but I'm so glad I was surprised by it. The next question is, who is your favorite new author, whether they be a new debut author or just an author who is new to you? I think for this one I'm going to have to go with Casey McQuiston, author of Red, White, and Royal Blue. Casey is a debut author and thus is also new to me, as well as being new to everyone. I feel like this is one of the defining books of 2019. You have probably seen it everywhere already. If you want to hear me rant and rave about how much I loved it, I talked about it in my June wrap-up. But Casey has such a character depth. You're only with Alex and Henry and June and Nora and Bea and Pez for 418 pages, but I feel like I know such detailed information about them. I fell in love with them. They made me cry. They made me laugh. There is just such power in Casey's writing and the depth and humor of her writing that I think made this book really special, which is why I'm really looking forward to all of the books that Casey is going to write next, because this was a brilliant debut and she is absolutely one of my new favorite authors. As far as a new to me author who is not a debut, I have to go with Amina May Safi of Tell Me How You Really Feel. This is another book that I read in June, so if you want to hear more, June wrap-up. Her first book was Not the Girls You're Looking For, which I wound up not reading, but I think I'm probably going to try to track down a copy of it now because I loved this book so much. This is an enemies to lovers female-female romance that is everything a queer girl summer read should be. It is, like, perfect. And this is another book where I feel like we weren't with these characters for that long, but I got to know them so well, and I got to be so invested in them because of it. So this is an author who is new to me. Even though this was her sophomore novel, I'm definitely going to be looking out for the new books that she writes and her debut book as well. Question 8 is, who is your newest fictional crush? As y'all probably know by this point, I never answer this question because I don't really get crushes on book characters, so I always answer this question with who is, like, the new book character I would love to be best friends with. I think I have to go with the entire, like, Big Six of Red, White, and Royal Blue, because their group chats are my favorite thing in existence. I love every single one of them, and I would absolutely kill to be in their friend group, because it seems amazing, and they're all wonderful and supportive and hilarious. Question 9 is, who is your newest favorite character? Well, I've had a ton of new characters that I've met this year who are new favorites to me. Alex and Henry, of course. You all know, if you watched my Daisy Jones and the Six vlog, that I absolutely fell in love with some of the characters in that book, and even the entire crew of the Wayfarer from Long Way to a Small Angry Planet. Near and dear to my heart. As well as the entire crew from On a Sunbeam by Tilly Walden. Again, faves forever, but I think I have to go with Ivy Aberdeen just because this book helped me unlock a part of myself, and in particular, Ivy Aberdeen helped me to unlock a part of myself. She's a little version of my 12-year-old self, and I hold her so near and dear to my heart because of that. She just means the absolute world to me, and so she is absolutely one of my new favorite characters. Number 10 is a book that made you cry. I haven't talked about this book in this video yet, so I think I'm gonna to talk about Water Runs Red by Jenna Claire. I cry a lot while reading books. I'm a crier in general. I cry watching movies, I cry watching TV shows. I consume media, I get attached, I cry. But Water Runs Red, I think, is one of the first times poetry has made me cry, if not the first time. The entire, first two sections of this poetry collection just hit me in a very personal and particular place, and it became a very emotional journey reading this collection because of it. It brought back a lot of memories about how a relationship of mine had ended, even though Jenna is, of course, writing in this about friendship breakups because I had been such good friends with my ex. A lot of those feelings just really resonated with me, especially sort of the toxic stuff. And I think that Jenna just created something really special with this collection. Plus, I got to meet Jenna. She's just the sweetest, most lovely person in the world. So this made me cry. This made me cry a lot. Number 11 is A Book That Made You Happy. I think for this one I'm gonna say On a Sunbeam by Tilly Walden. I was just talking about this book. This is the third book that I gave... Oh. Stop falling. This is the third book that I gave 5 stars to in June. It was one of my other new favorite books ever, so this made me really happy because it was epic and romantic on a scale I was not expecting this wonderful, weird, sci-fi female-female romance to be. This is really similar to The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet in a ton of different ways, and I think that I'm just a sucker for a crew on a spaceship that, you know, reluctantly comes to love one another, and that is absolutely what happens in this. Plus, it's perfectly romantic, so this just made me ridiculously happy. Obviously. Number 12 is what is the most beautiful book you've bought or received so far this year? There are a ton. There are so many beautiful books I have purchased and received in 2019, but I think Priory of the Orange Tree is the one I'm most obsessed with. It's the biggest book, ever, and it intimidates me every time I look at it, but this cover is so gorgeous. The blue against the orange, the different textures, and even the spine without the book cover on it. It's just the most glorious book to look at, so definitely Priory of the Orange Tree. And finally, the last question is, what books do you need to read by the end of the year? I mean, I definitely think that these two that I mentioned earlier, The Luminous Dead and When We Left Cuba, are on a list of need to read by the end of the year. And I think two more that I haven't talked about that are on my need to read list are Her Body and Other Parties by Carmen Maria Machado. I will hopefully be reading this in October. And An Unkindness of Ghosts by River Solomon, because I was supposed to read it in June and didn't get to it, but I desperately want to read it. But that is it. That brings us to the end of 2019's mid-year book Freakout tag. Have you read and loved any of the books I talked about? Please let me know down in the comments below, and please let me know what books you absolutely have to read by the end of 2019. What is your top TBR for the last half of this year? Other than that, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you in another video very soon. Bye!